Hello and welcome to the Behind Closed Doors podcast. My name is Alicia Aberley and I'm so grateful that you have joined us in this space. Behind Closed Doors is all about the types of conversations that we only usually have with our best friend, our partner, our counselor, our coach. And sometimes it's the conversations that we don't actually have with anybody else at all. The women that are interviewed in this space are all women that are making a difference to the planet. They're women that are inspiring and empowering. The intention is that you too will feel inspired and empowered by these conversations. So grab a cup of your favorite drink, pop your feet up, and enjoy this episode of Behind Closed Doors. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Behind Closed Doors. Today's guest has been a student and practitioner of metaphysical spirituality for more than 35 years. She is certified in the practice of spiritual psychology, clinical hypnotherapy, and has a master's degree in holistic nutrition. In addition, she enjoyed a professional singing career for more than 25 years. She is the author of the recently released book, Life Before Life, How Soul Agreements Direct Our Destiny, which follows her first book, I Dreamed I Was a Human, Awakening from the Illusion. She is also a regular contributor to the highly respected Sedona Journal of Emergence magazine. Hello and welcome, Carolyn Gervais.
Thank you.
So lovely to have you join me in this space today.
It's nice to be here, Alicia.
So we're going to have a deep dive. I grab my notes. We're going to have a deep dive into some amazing topics. I'm really excited to dive deep into this with you to get a little bit more insight. So we are going to talk about how soul agreements play out in everyday lives. We're also going to touch on how our perception of God or creative force influences our lives and ways to face, overcome, and heal our fears.
Yep, sounds good.
Great. So Carolyn, where would you like to start today?
Wherever you want. You pick it. It doesn't matter.
All right. So let's go in order. Let's go how soul agreements play out in our everyday lives.
Okay. I know a lot of metaphysical people are familiar with the term soul agreements. But I do want to say up front that a soul agreement, we make a lot of them before we are born because we want certain things to be triggered in us at certain times in our life to start concentrating on a certain issue or a certain trait that we want to heal or get rid of. And so I want people to know that soul agreements are not written in stone. It's not like it's preordained or predestined. It's when you come to Earth and you have these certain soul agreements with people, and we all have soul agreements with our families, like our parents and our siblings and our best friends that are friends for life. We have that, and we also have soul agreements that might be we just bump into somebody in a store and I don't know, we start talking about a topic or whatever, and we exchange something very interesting with each other that might change our energy in some way or change our view of something in some way. So we decide whether we want to go through with a soul agreement on this earth when it comes to us. We decide whether we want to go ahead and work on that particular soul agreement with that person or people, or do it another time. That's up to us. We make the choice because this is a duality. So we always have the choice of whether to pay attention to something or let it go. But I must say that sometimes if we have in multiple lives have let go of working on a particular soul agreement, then it gets a little bit harder and harder to get us to really get into it and work on it and get it done. So that's kind of an incentive to, if you can, if a soul agreement comes your way, and you know by the intensity of it. Usually soul agreements are intense, like with family members or people we've known or incarnated with many times over many centuries. And this is how we know when there's something here that I need to work on, because it's bringing up certain feelings, and feelings we don't necessarily like, or for certain intense feelings of maybe this person needs to be in my life. I just love this person, that kind of thing, you know. And you can do that, and this can happen in an instant with somebody.
So is the soul agreement here specifically to teach us a lesson?
Yes, it's here to, actually, it's for both parties. Whoever the soul agreement is with, they've agreed to trigger something in us that we have been denying, so that we will look at it and deal with it. And the same goes for them too, in some way. And it doesn't have to always be bad. It can be, well, my husband is a soul agreement, because I was given a dream about him 2 years before I met him. And I knew I was going to meet him. God was telling me in the dream I was going to meet this man. And, you know, you kind of doubt it, but then, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to keep expecting it and looking for it. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then I guess it wasn't meant to be. But it happened, so.
And does it often come from a karmic lesson?
It can come from karma, because, but it can be good karma too that it's coming from. But it can also be, but any relationship you get into, any strong, heavy relationship, whether it's out of love, it's always a mixture of everything. So we're going to learn a lot from each other. But, and it's, I mean, there's no perfect relationship where you don't have to work on it, where you don't have to talk things out or tell your side of it, and then that other person tells their side of it, and then try to find some common ground. I mean, that's just life itself. But yes, it usually is karmic, because the intense feelings come from something that has not been finished, or something that needs to be resolved and healed.
Something that just keeps playing in the background of my mind while you're speaking, Carolyn, is that the minute I met my partner, and for me it was just a soul experience in the first place for how it happened. It was just, I'd love to just share this for a second. So I was working at the bank, and I was out the back in the back room. I was about to finish up at the place like where I was working, and I went out to check on the teller line and see if they needed some help. And as I come out, I had a look. I looked up at the line. I could see my now partner in the line, and I turned around to go back out, and everything, it was like this voice just screamed at me, turn back around. And I turned around and I went and I called him over and actually served him and looked after him. And that's how we very first met. We didn't hit off straight away, but that's how we very, very first met. And I've said to him from that moment, I've done this with you many times. We just haven't got it right in the past. That's how I feel. I actually, without knowing all of this work that you do, I actually could feel within my being that I've known him for lifetimes. And I believe my lesson with him and my learning with him is to learn self-love.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that. And the same with my husband. The minute I was singing in a nightclub, and he came in the front door, and he was pretty far away from me. I really couldn't see his face that clearly, but instantly I knew that was the man that I was supposed to meet. And he and I, and I'm not like this. I don't just fall in love with anybody, you know. I like to, you know, see what the person's all about. And I have to say, this is for love at first sight for him and for me. And, you know, that it happens that way. And I think more than anything, ours is I mean, yeah, we have our issues, but ours is more, we came together to really have the kind of love that we don't get in a lot of lives. And so he and I have this very soul connected kind of love. And I'm sure you do with your partner as well. And it's more of a just enjoying loving someone and knowing this person will love you no matter what, and vice versa, you know, and it's wonderful experience.
It's a beautiful experience. And what I love about it is knowing within my core that if we decided to part ways, I can still feel that throughout our lifetimes, we will have that heart soul connection, which I think is beautiful to know that and to be able to feel that within.
Yes. Yeah. And you'll have it forever.
Wow. For lifetimes to come?
Uh-huh. You'll have it forever. And when you're on the other side, or when you pass over, then you start working on all of the people that are going to benefit you in growth, and what you need this time from that person. It might be something different, you know. Carolyn, and they be in your life as a parent instead of a partner.
So it can switch like that?
Oh yeah. It can switch any way that the soul will bring growth to the soul that is inhabiting the new body.
I've heard that the people that we have a really close connection with, like that instant, that meeting, we go, wow, I've known you my whole life. I've heard that those people, when we have those connections, that they usually are from a previous life.
Oh yeah, always. Because the feelings are so strong, you can't deny it. It's like, you know, you're not going to walk away from this, you know, like you knew with your partner.
Yeah.
There was no way you were going to turn around and look at him, and then you felt something very, very strong. There was no way you were going to walk away from that without finding out what that was.
And same in friendships. Like I just keep getting goosebumps down my left side. Lately, my intuition is really heightened and the goosebumps just keep coming. It's quite incredible. Yeah, quite incredible. I have some really beautiful friendships that I used to be closed off to relationships with women just as I had so much to deal with in myself. And once I healed my own heart, I opened up to a lot more female friends, and have a friend I met recently, and her and I, we just like gravitated. It was like, oh my gosh, we've done this before. We're like twins. It's just remarkable to feel that.
That's great. That is great. And yes, expect them. And I tell people, expect miracles in your life. They happen all the time. But if we're concentrating on the woes and the sadness and what we're not happy with, then we miss the good things. So regardless of the condition that the world is in right now, there's still wonderful, beautiful things happening. And we can help create those wonderful, beautiful things.
Through consciously deciding to say yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. And are our soul agreements, you said before that I would have that for forever. So are soul agreements ever broken? Can we decide that we have the learnings and then that's it? Or do we just continue lifetime upon lifetime to potentially have these people in our lives?
Well, the combinations of relationships that we can have over lifetime after lifetime are quite enormous, you know. But yes, I'm sure that at some point you could get to a point where you've given each other all that you have to give each other and learned from it. And so you kind of just move on to something else, because consciousness, being born in this world, is about consciousness and that consciousness expanding into knowing who we are as spiritual beings in human form. And that's why we're here. So we give ourselves, and actually we're all one anyway, so it's not like we split up and go different ways, because it's not really the whole essence of who we are that is born into a body. It's just a part of it, you know, and we have many lives going on all at the same time, because energy is just one. but we in human form have given it through a different way of figuring out who we are as spiritual beings. We've decided to try being human and see if we can find our way back to who we really are before we came here.
So for me, while you were speaking, I don't know if you saw there, but I was like, I just had tears welling in my eyes when you were talking about the consciousness, and it's really hit my heartbone, hitting the consciousness piece, and then coming back and understanding why we're here. I feel like that's just, well, this is really powerful for me, Carolyn. I'm so grateful that you are here with us today, with me today, because I feel like I've just transitioned through that space, and that there's a whole universal openness for me to explore now. It's like I've had this rebirth, and it's just so beautiful. Thank you.
Now I'm getting goosebumps.
I've got tears, goosebumps.
Oh, my arms. Yeah. That's great, sweetie. That is wonderful.
So
you had an epiphany. Just a growth spurt. That was wonderful. That's wonderful.
So amazing. So amazing. Just so amazing. Thank you for being there for me to share that with. Soul agreement. I love it. So you just mentioned before that we're having multiple lifetimes happening. So is that how the metaphysical plane works? There's different, we are one body, yet we're having multiple experiences?
Yes.
How does that?
We are God essence having multiple experiences in form.
So let's break that down.
Yeah. God, if you call it God, I mean, there's many names for God, but everybody knows what God, the word God means. So I say God. You can call it the creative force. You can call it the life force energy that makes us who we are. But it's all the same thing. And that energy must constantly create and create itself into ever new things and ever new existences. So it never stops. Because if it were to stop, then there would be no more life. Life would stop. So it's endless. I know it's hard to comprehend that, but it is endless. That God essence, or that creative essence, has to keep moving and keep creating just to maintain being life.
So in regards to us having multiple experiences in one lifetime, so do we have this physical body lifetime and we also have a spiritual body in some other plane? How does that work? I'm very curious here.
Well, our spiritual body is always in the spiritual realm. Just a piece of it is connected to these bodies. So it's guiding us all the time. Whether we listen, that's up to us, And we know when we're not listening, because then we get into trouble. That's how we know when we are listening to our intuition, which is guided by that creative force that is a part of who we are. We are tied to that creative force. We can't be without it, or we wouldn't be here. We'd be one with that creative force if we weren't in these forms. You see, we really are one with that creative force, but we're dreaming. See, we're pretending that we're in these human forms because it's God creating himself in every way he can to see if what he's capable of creating and doing with his creative energy, her creative energy. And so human form is just one aspect of that creative source and what it's doing. So the trick here in this dualistic world, because everything has an opposite, everything, even inside of us, we're male and female all at the same time. But we choose to show up as female body or a male body. And that's our choice. And we switch sexes all the time, depending on what we're wanting to learn. So we are always one with this creative force. And it's like, look at it as rays, different rays, like strings, just going out every direction, everywhere possible. And those strings are all connected to some creative something that's manifesting in some way. It may not be manifested for our eyes, but it might be manifested for somebody else's eyes on another planet or solar system. Does that make sense?
It does. It's my mind is just officially blown. It's incredible.
Well, I can do that. Tell me if you feel like you're going crazy, and I'll slow down.
Not at all. It's just, I find it so fascinating.
Good.
Yeah. Is there anything else for this part of our conversation that you would like to share with our listeners and our viewers, Carolyn?
Not that I can think of. Just know that look, when something hits you, when somebody comes your way and it does something inside of you and you don't know what it is exactly, you just know you're supposed to talk to this person or meet this person, because this is how this world works. It's not going to come up and, push us down. It's going to say, somebody could smile at you, and that smile is telling you something.
So just feel it. The more we listen, yeah.
And that's your intuition. And metaphysical people are on a spiritual path to find out who they are. That's why people like us are interested in these kinds of things, because we want to know who we are and why we're here and our purpose.
So when you say metaphysical people and the fact that we want to know that, I feel that that's definitely me as well. What is that? What is the metaphysical person?
Metaphysical is the study of the unknown. That's what the word metaphysical means. And it's everything that is outside of what we think is real. It's everything that we don't know is also real, because our mind has not expanded to the point where we're interested in knowing who we are beyond these bodies and beyond our thoughts and our beliefs. And I want people to remember that a belief is not real. A belief is phony, because it's our experiences and our concepts and knowledge and everything we've ever done in every life puts together what we believe in. And then we have to know when we're done with that. When we say, okay, well, like let's say you go to a certain church or a certain kind of religion, let's say, and you want to try this religion, see if it's something you like. Well, and you do that for maybe a year or two, and then all of a sudden you just don't feel like it's doing you any good anymore, like you're getting anything out of it anymore. So you decide to go somewhere else, whether it's into another religion, or you start reading and studying about philosophy and how that connects with who we are as spiritual beings. And that's part of one of the next topics is our perception of life, our perception of what we call God or what we call our creative force determines how we see ourselves and how we see life. Do you want me to explain that a little more? Okay.
Yes, please.
Believe it or not, all of the craziness we see going on in the world right now is happening because people are tired of living in the same old world and having the appearance that they're not going anywhere. Well, believe it or not, all this craziness is showing us what we don't want in this world or in our life. And this is determined by our perception of, well, what made me? What am I? What is all this for? You know? So if our perception of God or a creative force is that of this creative force is angry, can get angry at us and punish us, or this creative force can hurt us in such a way that we're hurt for the rest of our life, we're damaged for the rest of our life, then that becomes our view of the creative force or God. And that becomes, believe it or not, our religion. Our belief about the creative force actually becomes our own personal religion. So if we're afraid of that, then we're going to be miserable. So we have to realize that God is unlimited. There is no definition, one definition to God. There is no one way that God can be. God is love, and that's the only thing that churches have in common or religions have in common, that they believe God is love. But then they go off on all these tangents and they start thinking, oh, well, my religion told me I'm superior to the religion down the street here, this other church, you know. So that means that I'm superior to them, so I can put them down and judge them because I am more God than they are because my church has told me so. And this is what we argue about. I'm better than you. My God knows more than your God. And I'm a better person than you because my God says that you do this and this and this, and we don't do that. And so therefore we're more pure in heart. Well, that's all bull. It's all bull. Religion cannot truly teach you about God. You know who can teach you about God? You. It's inside of us. And it helps to study philosophy and study metaphysical or metaphysical science or metaphysical miracles, just anything. This is how I started when I was 17, because I did not want to be here. And so I stopped believing in God as a teenager because I came from a very messed up family and I was so miserable. I just did not want to be here. And I said, if you exist, God, if you are real, which I don't believe you are anymore because you've never answered my prayers, then you're going to have to prove it to me. And I didn't care if God struck me dead right then or not. I was just going to tell him how I feel. And I did. And some part of me was directed to start reading. Do you read metaphysical books? Have you read metaphysical books?
My being has been telling me for about 6 to 8 months now, it's time you start learning about this. It's time you start learning about this. And I love the synchronicity of this conversation with you, because as of the moment we get off the phone, I will, whatever you're about to recommend, I will go and purchase that.
Well, I recommend my book first.
Perfect. Done.
This is over 35 years of my experience and what God is about, from what I've learned through my life. Actually, it's over 35 years. It's more than that, but I'm willing to say over 35 years.
Yeah.
So I've put together from all my teachings, and I've had lots of miracles in my life, lots of what I call spiritual experiences, because of studying and reading and trying to figure out what this God is and what that means to me. And why did this God put us here in this mess? You know, what we sometimes see as a real mess and so much suffering. And so all of those things I've been through, and I have been out in the world so much in so many ways, because I needed to learn about humanity. I wanted to know what made people do the things they do, how people thought, how to get along with a person, you know, what makes them mad, what makes them happy, and how can you know the difference, you know? So I have put myself out there. I've been in so many bands you would not believe, singing in nightclubs all over parts of the United States. And I have done every kind of job you can think of, I have done. I was an esthetician, went to school for that too, hypnotherapist, you know, just everything. Because I felt I needed to know more about the world in order for me to understand how to live in it. And I suggest that you do not sit around and do nothing and wait for things to fall in your lap. I'm not saying you, but anybody that might be listening. You don't want to sit around and say, okay, I'm waiting for my purpose to show up. It doesn't work that way. We got to go out there and face whatever we're afraid of and say, okay, show me, God, what am I supposed to do here? What do you want me to do? And try things, because you're never going to know what is really meant for you unless you try things that you might have some interest in. And that's how you gradually figure out what you can't live with and what you don't want to live with. Or did I just say double?
What you can't live without, and what you
need
can live without.
Yeah, what you need to live and what you can live without.
Yeah, I got it. That's so beautiful. So when you're talking, you touched on it before, when you're talking God, so for you, is that, I say universe and source. For me, it's not a religious God. It's a, universe and source.
Right. And that's what metaphysics is.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing the biggest and learning the biggest picture you can possibly learn about what this creative force is.
Because it's us?
Because it's us, yes. And once we know it's us, then we start valuing the life force energy in us more and start using that life force energy to benefit that life force energy in us and get it out there into the world, because the world is only going to get better according to our expanded consciousness.
Oh, I just get goosebumps. I love this.
Good.
It excites me so much. I'm really looking forward to reading your book.
Yeah, good. Good.
Oh, fantastic. So how about, is there anything else for this space? I don't want to just jump with, usually we just guide and go and move through the conversations. And I really feel like what you're talking about is super important. And I would like to make sure that we cover off enough of what you want to for each of the areas. So this was the second area that we were going to chat on. Is there something else there for universe, source, God, whichever way you deem it, that you would like to share, Carolyn?
Yes. Know that every experience we have in this physical life, whether we hate it or love it or somewhere in between, it's happening to us because there is something for us to learn from it. And even if it feels painful, know it's a gift. It's a gift from that universal source to make us expand and wake up to who we really are. And with that, the more we wake up, the happier our lives become, the more beautiful our lives become, because we are looking at the world with our eyes wide open, or as wide open as we can at the moment. And we keep expanding on that. Don't ever give up. So don't ever blame anyone for what's happening to you, because it wouldn't be happening to you unless you agreed to let it happen to you. Or me, I agreed to let it happen to me. And I've had some horrific things happen to me in my life, and I'm sure you have too. And I know now that my parents did the best they could do. And the one gift they gave me that I could truly say in their craziness was I wanted to know why I was here. and to not be like them. I didn't want to be like them. And that was the gift that they gave me. I mean, they loved me, yes, but in their weird sort of way. But it made me look inward.
And that was your soul agreement with them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And mine with them with me, and me with them. I taught them something too, whatever that is.
Yeah, and look at where you're at now. I love this. I love the way that you've articulated that. It's like all of those things we go through then lead us to a place where if we peel back, I find it a little bit of a funny joke. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find it really funny. It's like we come into this earth where, you know, we're these little babies, we're full of love and joy, and then it's like,
don't know anything.
No, and we're just here, we want to have a good time, and then it's like, boom, this happens, and then this, and it's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, and then we hit this, for me it was the age of 26, we hit this point in our life where it's just like, can't do this like this anymore, and then it's like, peel back each layer and each layer and each layer to come back to that initial point. And yeah, these things hurt sometimes, and the experiences that we go through, but then it's like it brings us, if we can push through that, it brings us to what our purpose, like you were talking about before. And then we can teach and we can heal and we can share and grow and expand.
Right. Yep. And that actually comes to the last thing that we're going to talk about. And that is, how do we overcome our fears? Number one, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Because if we are meant to be here in whatever state we are in at the moment, we have to accept that, because there's something about this experience at this moment that we are growing and expanding and learning something about life and ourselves and others. So know that you will be here as long as your soul wants you here in this particular body. You're not going to go. I mean, yes, people can say, get me out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. And you do that enough. Like my mother, I mean, I think 53 is a young age to die at, but she died at 53 because she always wanted to die. Her whole life, she wanted to die. And I think the only reason why she stayed around as long as she did is so she could see a grandchild from each of her three daughters. So my twin sister had just had a baby 3 months before my mother died. And that was the last grandchild she got to see. And we do, if we really want out of here, and no ifs, ands, or buts about it, sooner or later we'll get our wish. But it's not going to be, but to do that is to say, get me out of here, God, I don't want to be here. I'm suffering. I can't stand this. I won't do this. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. What we're saying is, okay, take me now. But guess what? When you come back, you got to go through that all over again. The thing you didn't finish. The thing you were on when you died. So you don't get away from it just because you die. So think twice before you kill yourself. I'm telling your audience that.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one. There's so much suicide, and I have always had a peace within my heart for people that take their own lives. My belief system is if someone is in that much pain, if you can actually follow through and do that, then there's something different between you and me, because I couldn't imagine following through with that. So I have so much empathy in that space, and I feel like we have all these things happen to us in life where we can be hit by a bus, we can, have some form of accident, or we can get ill. And my viewpoint is, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. So if you want to take your life, I'm not encouraging anyone in the audience to take their life, but if that's how people feel, then personally, I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. I know people have really big opinions on this. They say it's selfish and, all of that, but I see it really different. So from your perspective and what you teach, if that's the case, if someone takes their own life, could it be that they've done their time here and they know there's no more here? Or would you be leaning more on the side that, you know what, sorry, you're just going to come back and do it again?
It's different for different people because of what they're learning. There are people that take their life and that's the way they have decided to go, and they've been encouraged inside on some level to do that, because that's the way they decided to leave this earth. We decide how we leave this earth, in which way we want to leave this earth. We decide it. Everything is choice. That's why we have free will. That's why we have it. So we can choose if we really want out of here, and it's down to, and it's time for us to go, and suicide is something we've always felt that would be the way we go, then that person, it's right for them. And it's time for them. They learned what they came to learn, otherwise they wouldn't have left. But then there are people that kill themselves right in the midst of learning something, and they just don't want to do it anymore because it's too hard. And so they decide, well, I'm just gonna, I don't care if I come back and have to do it over again. I need some peace for a while. And so they do it, but they come back and they have to be in that situation again, and now do it the way that they were supposed to do it. What are you learning from this? Everything we go through, ask yourself, what am I learning from this? What is this showing me about me as universal essence or creative essence? What is this showing me about me that I need to see? And I can tell you, if you want to know something and you are really serious and you want to know the answer to something, all you have to do is ask what you believe in that helps guide you, and say, tell me what it is I need to know now. And expect it. It will come in some way. Some way. Don't say what way it will come, because it'll come in the way that you will recognize it. It happens to me all the time, so I know this is true.
And perhaps that's where we trip ourselves up, having the expectation that it should come in a certain way.
How do you what with that?
So perhaps that's where humans trip themselves up, with the expectation. It's like we ask the question to universe, God, source, whoever we reference. We ask for it. If we ask for it in a specific way, show me this by giving me lots of money, and then the money doesn't come. So it's like, oh, that's not real. And then we distance ourselves from that connection, that source. Whereas if we ask in a way where it's like, show me what I need to see or what I need to learn right now, and if we allow that to come in the way that it wants to come in, then we don't trip ourselves up, right?
Right. Because there's a saying, never plan your life. You have ideas what you want to do, but again, it may not be the best thing for you. So therefore you're being guided inwardly to go in a different direction. But our mind, our human mind, is saying, no, I want to do this. I want to do this. And you can go ahead, try to do it. And if it's not meant for you to do, something will happen to where you can't do it, or it just, everything falls apart and you have to leave that kind of thing, whatever it is. And you just realize, oh yeah, well, I guess I don't really have the ability for that. So I think I better get out of this, whatever the case may be. I mean, you can try it. I call them stepping stones. Whatever we try is a stepping stone to see if this is something that can become a passion, because then we're all looking for a passion. So we try these different things, and as they fall away, each one, you're moving closer and closer to the thing that is going to bring you that passion that you are looking for. You don't know it as you take these different steps, but you are going towards that. It's just each of these steps is showing you what you don't want that you think you want. And so it keeps going until finally, one day, you happen upon something that you can be passionate about.
And in the surrendering of the fear?
Fear, Now, fear comes from many things, subconscious things, even other lives, we can carry them in. So when you have a fear about something, let's say something happens to you as a child that created this horrible fear. For me, for instance, I had this horrible fear of people, of adults. I was scared to death of them because to me, all adults hated kids in my mind, because of the way I was raised. And so I would cry if a teacher said boo to me in elementary school, I would just start crying because I was so scared of them. So things like that, or let's say you were traumatized by something very traumatic and you don't know how to get over that, to get past that so you can move on with your life. Keep looking at that, or get therapy. Number one, try that first. And keep asking for the answer as to how to get through this. Because it's going to be different for different people. So look back on that experience the best you can and relive it. And look at it as if you're not feeling the pain of it. You're just seeing it. And watch it happen as if it's happening to somebody else. And what would you say to you, to the person, what would you say to the person that's going through this trauma that would help them? Because you're not going through it. So the part of you that's just witnessing it, isn't experiencing it, what would you say to that child about this experience? And the thing that goes through my mind is being molested. This happens to a lot of kids. So you say, what would you say to this child? Will you tell that child adamantly and why, to the best of your ability, that it wasn't their fault, that it was the adult that took advantage of you. You did nothing wrong. And that kind of thing. So keep reliving this and keep telling that child things that you know now as an adult that would help that child see it a different way. And did you learn from this? Well, it could be that the child learned not to trust every adult, to really question their motives, really wonder if you should go off alone with this person, even if it's your uncle, because children have feelings about things. They really do. And if they listen to their gut is telling them, no, something's off here. Listen to your gut. And this would be a good thing for children too, that things have happened to and they're afraid it's going to happen again. Listen to your gut. There's a guidance in all of us that's telling us, do this or don't do this. And the times we don't pay attention to the don't do this, we get hurt. We get in a lot of trouble. So we have to learn to that voice inside that's saying, and feel it here and in your stomach, because this is where your emotions are. What are your emotions telling you? What is your heart telling you? And if there's anything inside of you that says no, but everything else says yes, listen to the no first. Yeah.
And the more you listen to that no, the more you begin to trust your own intuition, right?
Right. And question things. Don't just swallow everything an adult or a person tells you just because you think they're more qualified than you or they know more than you. Question it, And I didn't start doing that till I was grown, because I thought I was supposed to do whatever any adult told me to do, Don't as a child and don't as an adult.
Great advice.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn, this has been an amazing conversation. Is there anything else, one last thing that you would like to share with the audience?
At your hardest times, where you think you just aren't going to make it, just get into a relaxed state of mind, either through meditation or just breathing deeply and concentrating on your breath, or just talking to some force that you believe knows more than you could ever know, and concentrate on that and ask for help. Ask for, what do I do now? What do I do? And just wait and ask that the heaviness be lifted off of you from this issue. And believe me, I do this all the time, believe me. And I know we have loved ones that have passed on, and I mean, there's so many names that we give the people that have passed on, but they're all the same thing. They're all angels, they're all guides, they're all family, they're all whatever that is made of love, and they're there for us. So we ask, so when I do it, I ask my angels, which are all connected to God, they're all connected to God, one with God, pull me out of this, lift me out of this. And I just expect it to happen, and before I know it, I feel it lift off of me. And it's like, wow, I don't even feel scared anymore. I don't even feel depressed or angry or anything at this person now. So work on that and do it. Everybody you meet, give them love. There is not enough love in this world right now. Look into people's faces and see that pureness in their eyes, in their face, and love them for that, even without saying a word. But if you want to say something, I do. When I feel led to go over to a person, because I love them, I just love them for whatever reason, I do. I say hi, or I do something to get them up conversing with me, and it lifts their energy and it lifts our energy.
And that ripple effect just goes out beautifully to the rest of the world.
Yep. And I just wanted to mention the name of my book. The name of my book is Wake. Can you see this? Can you see this?
I can. For all of our viewers, they'll be able to see this.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. It's called Life Before Life, How Soul Agreements Direct Our Destiny. But there is so much in here. It's not just about those topics. It's everything that you can imagine.
Fantastic.
And my website is Awakening You, and that's YOU. Awakening is AWAKING. YOU.com. And you can go there and you can go to different links where you can order my book. Amazon's on there. You can get to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or my publisher, whatever, on there, and order the book that way. Plus you'll get to read a little more about me and what I've done. And some of my music, I've written New Age, more, I don't know what you call it. I call it metaphysical spirituality because it's metaphysics, but it's also spiritual too. So years ago, I wrote 11 songs that were metaphysical spirituality and recorded them in a recording studio. And you can see that on my Facebook, my website too. And you can actually hear one of the songs on there. But you can also hear the songs on YouTube.
Carolyn, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. Thank you so much for being here. I have learned so much, and I'm really, really excited to read your book. Thank you to each. You're welcome. Thank you to each and every single person also that has tuned in for this episode. I look forward to coming back next week and having you join us then. Till then, bye.